Index engine support for SharePoint data allows you to directly access and index data contained in SharePoint without having to move it out of SharePoint to index. Index engines can discover your SharePoint farms and sites within the farm, connect to those sites, and create an indexing job where we index the metadata and or the full content of the files, as well as all certain metadata attributes from within SharePoint. So for example, on my demo server here, I've indexed a SharePoint farm that's on a 121 server. You can see that I could limit my profiling here to certain levels within the SharePoint site, or I could select the top level to give me a whole high-level data profile of what's contained in that SharePoint site. I'm going to go ahead and hit my search button here. I'm going to give me a high-level view of the files that are in my SharePoint environment here. I'm seeing files here by file type in this report. I should note also that in addition to looking at the most recent version of a file, Index Engine supports SharePoint versioning. So once you find a file, we can go and look for all versions of a file to look at the variations in metadata and content from version to version, as well as taking different disposition options against that data set. So for example here, I'm looking at a SharePoint farm. I selected that SharePoint farm. I created a data profile report here looking at file type. I can go, let's say, and look at modified types to look at an age report. Maybe I want to look further into this abandoned data here, this data that hasn't been modified in greater than 5 years. I can cull directly from in my report like I have, update my search results here looking at my report, and then I can go and filter by other types of characteristics of the metadata. So maybe I want to look at file types at this point. I see there are 2 file types that were greater than 5 years, so they haven't been modified. I can go and look at maybe just the JPEGs and look again and further examine and further call into that data set. Now that I narrow down my data results to 43 files, maybe there's a certain disposition action I want to take against that data. Well, I can look at the different metadata for those files. I want to look at a more granular view. Or I can go and select those files as a batch here and take a disposition action against those. Index engines will be shortly releasing disposition actions such as delete and copy against that SharePoint data. So you could find a file, the latest version, or a whole host of versions for a particular file that are versioned in SharePoint, and then you could take actions such as copying and deleting that data in addition to the current supported reporting that we provide at this time.